a second chance in the game.
And today we're going to talk about the center snap. We're going to talk about under center, shotgun, the traditional, and the dead snap. We're going to start with the kind of why we do what we do at Vista High School and how we've gotten to the different techniques that we use on these 3 different snaps. So before we get started, I just want to present you guys with my information here. In case there's any questions or any contact, always feel free to contact me. I have no problem sharing video, techniques, phone calls, emails. I actually really enjoy going back and forth with different coaches. So email is davidbottom@vistausd.org, and then I have my Twitter at the bottom. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Chief Pigskin for allowing me to come in and do this and present the information that we've been able to develop over the last couple years. So talking about what we've developed the last couple of years and what it's been able to pull off for us is we've been a very productive offense these past couple of years. We're a run team, we're a wing T team. We've been able to incorporate a lot of RPO actions and increase our pass game. 2018, we had 4,871 total yards of offense. And then this past year, we pushed it up to 5,600 yards. And the thing that has really helped us push to that is working on the small little things, and all starts with the offensive line. And the first thing is the center snap. In these past 2 seasons, we've had 0 fumble exchanges with the direct under center, quarterback to center exchange, and we've had 1 single fumbled snap with the dead snap. So today we're going to start talking about the little things that we do to try to improve our techniques on that, and what has gotten us to this point of being so successful and given us the opportunity to be successful by not making the little mistakes. So the traditional snap under center is the most basic quarterback of center exchanges. The quarterback and center exchange is done where the quarterback is under center and has a direct hand-to-hand exchange. The success of this handoff is directly correlated to the placement of the ball for the quarterback and the ability for the center to take the snap, take a step, and continue to place the ball where the quarterback will receive the laces and keep his eyes on the defense. The key elements that we focus on are the grip, stance, and the first movement of the center. And the continual focus on this daily reps, everyday focus is something that we really push. So we're going to start with the grip on the traditional under center snap. The grip, as you can see in the picture here, we take the thumb and knuckle of your dominant hand and we put it in between the white stripe and the laces, with your palm resting on the side of the football. The laces line can be adjusted to quarterback center exchange, and the third key point, as you're snapping the ball, we want to turn it inward so the quarterback will receive the laces. Comfort and strength of grip is the key. And what we mean by that is the different guys have different size hands, quarterbacks, different heights of the center, so it has to be a continual adjustment. So when we're talking about that grip, and I have the picture there, but you guys can also see I'm holding the ball here. I've got a very large hand, so I'm able to take the inside part of my hand and I can keep it around the football pretty deep, try to keep that pressure and get it as much hand placement as you can on the ball. More coverage, the better. I like to try to keep my thumb along the laces in here. This gives me consistency. When our center goes up to the line of scrimmage, we practice him twisting, spinning, taking different attempts to try to adjust his hand on the ball, so it becomes second nature every time he comes up and grabs the ball. So my grip is here. As we start playing with the grip, some guys with smaller hands have to be a little higher, larger hands can be lower. You can tilt the ball to make it get more palm coverage, and then the finger grip on top, I try to keep it along the back side of the line as much as I can. And then the actual stance for coming up and snapping traditional. Finding the correct stance involves constant adjustment. 2-point stance, you got to sink your hips, get into an athletic position. You got to reach out with your dominant hand to find, grab the ball. Stance should be slightly narrower than normal. This allows for proper balance on the first step and avoid putting too much weight on the ball. The reason I like to go with the narrow stance, a lot of guys will widen them up. They're worried about making contact. Is I try to make sure we're really incorporating that first step. You have to be able to snap and move at the same time. If your stance is too wide, your balance comes off. You start losing the grip, you start losing the angle, the speed of the snap. Hips and shoulders also need to be aligned. You can see in this picture right here that the shoulder and hips of the center, his hips are just a little bit lower, but basically it's a flat back. Often you'll see the center's butt be a little bit down, and I get that. I see why people like that. It keeps their head up, their eyesight. But for me, I think the balance is off. I don't want to put too much weight on the ball. But in this position here, I feel like I get the freest movement of the arm, the faster snap, and we're able to control our feet with a better balance. Ball placement, just in front of their stance, their thumb and nose are aligned. So if you look at where his thumb is and his nose, about middle of the football line, so it's just out in front of him. And I think this way he's not reaching too far, it's not too far underneath him, he's not lifting. If the ball gets behind the chin line, I mean, obviously offsides, but it also slows down that snap. It turns into a lift instead of a snap. And if it's too far in front, you start pulling it, you start putting too much weight on the ball, and then that's where we start having some issues. And then the ball needs to be placed on its point. So once you get that ball to that point, once it's resting and you have it turned up and the laces are up towards you, first step should be getting the ball at the correct depth when you approach the ball. Shoulders and knees need to stay aligned so we have quick, easy movement. Offhand needs to be off the leg. That is a habit of all centers. Every one of mine, they all want to just rest that offhand. They're so worried about what's going on. But again, if you get them in the proper spot, the proper technique, they're moving, it all comes together. So I like to make sure that offhand is ready to strike. Begin the motion of the ball with a snapping and turning of the wrist. So you engage the snap with the wrist movement, not just the arm movement. I don't want to pull it, I want to engage the wrist, which then fires the rest of the arm. And then drive the ball up into the quarterback's hand. Do not release the ball until contact is made. This is not a shotgun snap. We're trying to hit a mark that the quarterback has set for us. So we're going to look at some video. So we start here looking at this video right here. We look at the quarterbacks underneath. The center, if you look at where he's sitting right now, he's got the ball slightly turned. This is something that we've matched up with our quarterback in his hands. Our center here is about 6'3", so he's a little taller. So if he has it straight up and down in the stance that I was showing you earlier, or the grip I was showing you earlier, he gets too much rotation. So we've turned the ball a little bit to add for his length of the snap and then the size of our quarterback's hands. So we'll actually have the center begin to snap in practice. And we'll have them do that exchange every single day, continually adjusting until we get the proper grip from the center. A lot of times they'll see the quarterback trying to adjust his hands. I don't want to do that. The center is going to be the person who touches it every single time first, and he can adjust the ball to what he needs the quarterback to do. So our quarterback's always giving him a little bit of keys. I need to turn more, I need to slid over, I need this, I need this. And then the center can give him the keys back. I need pressure, I need a little more contact. And then they just continue to work together back and forth until we get that right grip. So watching that again. So the thing that I'm looking for from my quarterback is I want my quarterback to not have to be able to move his body to take the snap. Now, obviously in a game, he's going to be moving, but if I can get him to a point where this is where he's at and he knows I don't have to move my hands, I don't have to move my shoulders, then his eyes can be downfield. And that's where the comfort comes in, the safety, and that's how we've eliminated underneath center, is just continually trying to find the match for the quarterback to be the most comfortable. Moving on, the next snap that we're going to talk about is the traditional shotgun snap. The shotgun snap moves the quarterback from 4 to 6 yards behind the center. The snap concept allows the quarterback to get a wide line of sight on the defense, and also allows the quarterback to get to depth faster than the traditional drop from under center. As many offenses open up their passing games and they add the RPO concept, the shotgun snap has allowed for faster reads and more time to adapt to defensive changes. The negative to the shotgun snap is the increased chance of a bad snap and losing the possession of the ball. The shotgun snap also pulls the quarterback's eyes off the field for just a minute as he's trying to catch the snap. I was a very big proponent, a long time, being a wing T guy, of not needing the shotgun. But again, with the varying defenses and everything we're seeing, putting 9 guys in the box, it had to open up our offense. So 3 years ago, we went to a shotgun snap. And it has paid off, it has been great, it has allowed us to increase multiple formations. But again, it also increased our coaching time in practice. Because now we've had to go under center, and we've also had to increase the time to work on our shotgun snap. So beginning to talk about the shotgun snap and the grip. Teaching the shotgun snap, I want the center to be as comfortable as possible. I have them grip the ball as they would when they're going to throw a pass. I want them to be the most secure and comfortable to grip as possible. Going back and forth, talking to different coaches, some of them don't like them to try to grip the laces. It does make their hand a little bit smaller on the ball. It is a little bit more to grab onto. But depending on where you are in different weathers, I've coached in the snow, rain, and I feel like the grip on the laces gives us the most comfort, the most secure, and I feel like the center understands where he's grabbing every time. It also gives us the most consistency of the grip. He can always know where he's holding onto the ball, and I feel like that's, again, repetition, consistency is how we're going to eliminate mistakes. Putting the ball on the point, same as under center, small turn in the wrist, slightly off the midline, and some pressure on the ball. A little bit more weight, but not too much. You don't want to lose the grip, and again, we have the picture of the grip, but we're looking at it here with our hands. I like to put that middle finger right on the lace, again, just like we're going to throw it. The difference is when we talk about the ball on the point, this time instead of like the traditional snap where we're sitting upright, we're going to turn the ball just a little bit. I like to have just a little bit more forward lean, maybe another 10 to 15 degrees. I feel like that engages the center's hand, feel a little bit more like he's throwing, and it's a little bit less of the wrist snap action that we get with the traditional under center. Finding the correct stance involves constant adjustment. The 2-point stance, sink your hips and get into an athletic position. Reach out with your dominant hand, find, grab the ball. The stance should be slightly narrower than normal. Now that we're reaching out, it's going to make us a little bit longer. This allows for proper balance on the first step and avoid putting too much weight on the ball. Hips will be slightly lower than the shoulders this time. That way we're up a little bit and we're not going to block ourselves. Now that our arms are out a little bit further. Ball placement is just in front of the stance, thumb and nose aligned. Now when I say thumb and nose aligned, we're actually aiming for the back point of the ball this time. And you can see in the picture, as I mentioned, the ball is placed on his point with a little bit more forward tilt. If you look at this picture of our center here, you can see that there's definitely more forward tilt on the ball. He's got a good grip. Now, what he's doing right here is you can tell his thumb is up. He's flat palmed. And what I mean by that is when he's supposed to be down here with that slight turn, he's actually got his hand open here. And the issue with that is now we've got to make him, when he's going to snap, he's actually now got to turn his wrist and then slide the ball. So when I have the centers place their hand, the first thing we do is always turn the ball and point the laces up. That gets our wrist engaged and ready to snap the ball. Also looking at his stance, he did the one thing I told you guys to make sure we don't, is we have that hand resting right there. We want that hand to be engaged, but again, his hips are a little lower than the shoulders, but we still have that flat back. I want all the movement and all the power to come from his hip and his knee area right here. I don't want it come from him bending from his back. I want it to come from this area right here. Now when it comes to the actual movement and action of this, the first step your foot should replace your hand where the ball's at. Shoulders and knees need to stay aligned, and the off hand is always ready to strike, as we were talking about. Begin the motion of the ball with a sliding of the hand, not a lifting motion. Small rotation of the wrist, the ball off center, and bring it to midline. The hips are driving the center forward, and then aiming point is the quarterback's knees. Now back to point number 5, the ball off center and bringing to midline. When we go to the video, I'll show you a little bit what I was talking about with that. When you have the center put the ball directly down in the middle, his arms do not set at a natural. He's already kind of pulled to the side. So when you snap, the first instinct is to pull to one side or the other, or because you're already down the middle, you tend to push off to the side. And I think that's the #1 reason why we have errant snaps left and right, is I feel like we're trying to push the center to put that ball dead center in the middle, and it's just not a natural pull technique. It's not a natural throw. So what I like to do is I actually like to have them move the ball off center, just inside their shoulder, maybe right up aligned with their ear. And that path of the snap, now they have to pull the ball towards the midline. And it just seems to be more of a natural movement. They can finish their hands further behind. And then when we talk about aiming for the quarterback's knees, everybody wants that perfect snap. So the kids don't always realize that the snap's going to naturally carry. So if we tell them aim for the knees, try to grab their knees. When we finish our hand through the snap, I have them try to pretend like they're grabbing knees. And that keeps the ball release lower, so when it drifts up higher, it's going to hit the quarterback right where we're looking for. The worst thing we can have is that snap over the head. Quarterback loses line of sight, ball's over his head, we're chasing, we need to eliminate all negative plays. So on this video here, we're going to take 2 angles to look at this snap. So first we're going to look at his body position. He's got the hips below the shoulders. The ball is just out in front, and if you look, you see the nose is lined up with that back tip of the ball. There's that forward lean that we're looking for. We'll look at shoulder width in just a moment. He needs a little bit more wrist turn, what I'm looking for here. And then we'll take a look at his first movement. So his angle and his hand, it's hard to tell from this spot, but let me see if I can catch it for you. If you look right at the back of this snap, you can really see his hand come through the back of this snap. Sorry guys, I'm having a little issue with the clip. I'll just start it over. So you can see it right there. That's what I was looking for. You can actually see his hand reaching back, his fingers are spread, and they're reaching for the quarterback's knees. And if you look at the line, that path right there, I actually have the quarterback a little further back at 7 right now. And what I'm trying to do is I want to see if we can get that snap to stay below the waist. That gives us a few extra yards to keep that line. If we're up at 5 and the quarterback and the center is shooting over his head, then obviously we got a bad angle. But if we can keep it low for an extra 2 yards, that means our quarterback's going to be catching the ball right about here, and it's that perfect snap that we're looking for. So he's taking a step, he's moving. His shoulders are staying aligned with that first foot, that first step where he's replacing the snap, and that hand is finishing through. I think that's a great shot right there, taking a look at how the hand is actually releasing. He's got that finger push, and he's grabbing towards the knees of the quarterback. Oop, too far. So now we're going to look at the second part of that. So as he sets, this is the thing I really wanted to show you guys right here. See how he's off center? We have him just to the side, lined up with his ear. So when you start to watch that motion, he's able to pull the ball straight back down the middle. And when we're taking that side step left and right, knowing that he's off center and he's got to pull that ball back down the midline, it allows the step to be a little bit more natural. He's not trying to fight. When you have that ball right down the center and he takes that step, we tend to pull it off to the side. This gives us just an easier path, an easier track to follow along as we take this step in through the snap. And if you look, 2 different snaps, 2 different angles, same result. Quarterback's able to keep his eyes forward, ball's hitting in that chest area, right about the numbers. And play it one more time, straight through both snaps, and you can see the speed and the catch point of the quarterback. So we had pretty good success switching up to the shotgun snap a couple years ago, but I noticed that we were still having some issues with consistency, the speed of the ball coming back. Our quarterbacks tend to be more runners than throwers, so we were trying to find a way to give them a better opportunity to catch the ball, still keep their eyes up so they can make a read, and just an easier way to catch. So we decided to try out the dead snap. And again, like I mentioned at the start of the video, the past 2 years we've gone to the dead snap, and we've had 1 bad snap in 2 years, and that was more off the cadence of the snap count and us not being ready for the snap than it was from the actual technique. So the dead ball snap also moves our quarterback 4 to 6 yards behind the center. This snap brings all the positives of the shotgun snap into play for the quarterback, his increased line of sight, faster to the drop. The dead snap also decreases the chance of an errant snap. The dead ball snap also is a great adjustment for centers with smaller hands. With proper practice and adjustment, we're able to have the ball to travel to allow the quarterback to catch with the laces with the same consistency as under center. We switched full-time to the dead snap 2 seasons ago, and again, like I said, only 1 bad snap. So when we're talking about the quicker to the drop, it allows us to take that 3-step, not have to take the 5, and getting that dead snap, we were able to actually allow the quarterback to catch the ball with the laces. And as we talk about the grip, the center is going to be able to hold it, is going to hold the point of the ball. The depth of the hand on the ball depends on the size of the hand of the center. So for me, I've got, again, larger hands. I like to take that ball and the point and I'll put it right into that soft spot of the hand and just let my hand naturally close on the ball. That gives me point of pressure all the way around the ball. I push that thumb towards the back as far as I can, and that keeps the ball from dropping out of hand. I've seen some people try to dead snap with their entire hand to the front of the ball, and I just feel like if there's a spot where we're gonna hit the ground or anything like that, it just doesn't give me that extra strength behind. So I have our centers go fingers along the top, middle finger right down that midline, and put that thumb towards the back, and it gives it more of a pinch feel, a little bit more balance. No turn or break in the wrist. So with our traditional under center, we have a little bit of a turn. With the shotgun snap, we have that turn like we're gonna throw it. With the dead snap, we don't wanna have that bend in the wrist. We wanna have that straight arm, because this is more of a sweeping motion, and with trying to eliminate the spin, we need to keep a little extra movement as possible from the snap. Laces with a slight turn must find the correct placement of the center's rotation on the snap. So what we mean by that is, for me, my comfort zone is here. And as we snap the ball, just with my natural hand movement, we get a quarter turn from the ball. So with that quarter turn, the quarterback is catching the laces. Practice, I actually snap as much as our centers do. I want them to be able to see the different adjustments. So we go back and forth, we have snapping competitions. Our center last year actually had to turn the ball inside, because as he flipped it back, it gave him a half turn. So that's actually something that we'll track in practice, starting in our spring practice. We'll do 100 snaps before we do our stretches, and we're just trying to get the different grips for the center and the quarterback. I've actually seen the placement have to change with a different type of ball. With Wilson, Spalding, the ball sizes are a little bit different, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but getting that rotation from here to here with the quarterback has made a difference. So the stance, approach again, same setup as the shotgun snap. Center needs to come up, get a good grip real quick. And I feel like this grip's a little bit faster to get than the traditional shotgun snap, because the ball tends to be already laying and set. So you can palm the ball. It's almost more like picking it up and get your hand set than we're trying to get that shotgun snap where we have to find the laces. We need to rotate the ball and get that wrist turned. 2-point stance, sink your hips, get in an athletic position, reach out with your dominant hand, find the ball. The stance can be a traditional 2 to 3 point stance for feeling. I've actually had centers go down with that third hand to give us a 4-point look. The reason why we've done that is the centers who tend to pull out of their stance too fast, just having that extra hand down, they're not really putting it on the ground. It's almost kind of dust in the ground. Just gives them a little bit more of that balance. Hips will be slightly lower than the shoulders, same as the shotgun snap. Ball placement is further out front than the shotgun snap. So we'd been talking with the ball lining up with the nose, with the back point of the ball. This time we're actually gonna have that point pushed out further toward the front of the forehead a little bit. The ball placement further in front of the stance with a shotgun, this helps compensate for the height of the center. When we have that ball up on point, we're raising that ball up from here to here, so it's lifting us up 3 or 4 inches. And again, 3 to 4 inches in our game makes a huge difference up front. And we want little to no flexion in the arm. So action, again, very similar to the shotgun snap, minus the added wrist action and the flexion of it. First step should replace the ball. Shoulders and knees need to stay aligned. I'll point that out again in the video. I mentioned it in the first under center snap. That first step, I want that shoulder to not raise, and I want it to stay in line with that front knee in that first step. As that body moves, we're moving all together in one piece. Offhand is ready to strike. We begin motion with the ball with a sliding of the hand, not a lifting motion. If we bring that ball up, if we lift it off the ground, sometimes you see with like a punt snap, the ball becomes a push instead of a sweep motion. And that's when we start having those things where we hit our legs, or we'll drag it, we'll click it off the ground. And that's the things we're really trying to avoid. Ball off center again, and then we bring it to the midline. We mentioned that in the shotgun, and again, I actually feel like this is the one where it's most natural, because you don't have that wrist turn of holding that ball off that midline, even here to the side, and then we're gonna snap and bring it back towards our midline. And again, aiming point for the quarterback's knees. So as we get into this video, we're gonna look at the stance right there. We can see again, the hips are a little bit lower than shoulders. We have that nice flat back. Feet are just wider than his shoulders. And the reason I don't like the wider stance, sometimes you see the centers, they'll move them out an inch or two. I feel like that really shortens that first step. That first step has to be confident, has to be strong, and it has to be balanced. And if your feet are too far out, your hips are never going to catch up. With this straight arm here, palm is up, the ball's on its point, there's a little bit of weight, and then we'll start looking at the actual motion. So as you can see, the rotation, we had a half rotation with this snap. Quarterback's able to catch it. Right now you guys can see the back of the ball. That means his laces are on his fingers right now. First step, same depth. You can see his shoulders and his knees are aligned. I'd like him a little bit lower. A little bit more bend. I'd like his shoulder lines to be about with his letters right here, so we're about 3 or 4 inches high. But again, you can see the height at which the quarterback's taking the snap. Quarterback does not have to put his head down. He can still see straight forward. He's got his hands in front, and we've got this right down that midline. One more time. So also with this one, you can see the way his hand is following through. It's still of a whip action. At no point in this snap do you see that arm bend. It keeps straight through the whole snap. And this is what kills the rotation. This is what we're looking for. We're the dead ball snap. We're looking for a knuckleball snap. So looking at the profile shot of this, sorry guys. You can see the ball straight down, it's on the point, arms nice and straight, that flat back look, good bend in the hips and the knees, feet are nice and square. First step, replaces the ball. He's continually moving forward. The quarterback's able to catch it, grab that ball, take a good snap. Now, all the videos I've shown you guys have been through the walkthrough at practice time. I wanted to show you guys a quick clip of the dead snap being used in a game at full speed. And my biggest coaching point on this is I've been asked if the dead snap has the same speed that the traditional shotgun snap. Shotgun snap is like you're throwing the ball. You have that rotation, got a good whip. Well, here's our center snapping it to our quarterback in a game this season, and I think you guys can see the ability to catch, transition, not have to find the laces because he's catching the laces. Quick turn and throw. See, wing teams can throw a little bit. So just wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to come check out this presentation. Again, we covered the traditional snap under center, the shotgun snap with a spin, and then the dead snap, which is a knuckleball snap. So again, thank you guys for watching it. Please check out on chiefpigskin.com our video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or contact me on Twitter. Thank you very much.